participants in the Nazi Party in Canada. So much so that actually he saw what was going on in South Africa, and he admired apartheid so much that they moved these little clues. You'll see that there's let's say a line. A method to all the madness. All these things that we see that's being purported on the...
That L, bro, with my guy for it, bro. It was a bad one, bro. But right before... No, so that wasn't the first one. The one right before that was when Nathan thought that he had an ally. So Nathan was like, hey, Andrew, guess what? Samoa was asked a question about is it permissible or not permissible, right? Remember that game?
I remember.
Remember, is it okay for babies to die? Is it permissible or not permissible for babies to die? Remember that?
Yeah.
Right. So Nathan thought he was gonna have a buddy, but Andrew was like, "It depends."
I would just say it's nonsense. Like, if you're saying something's real but it doesn't exist, you're not talking. You're just spewing nonsense.
Well, again, I didn't say it doesn't exist. I'm not saying real and doesn't exist. The example I was given was real, no effect on all of reality.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah, if you say something's real but not a part of reality, that's just nonsense. Like there's a direct contradiction, or there's an apparent direct contradiction.
Right.
And in the end, this is all hypnosis. That was for a comedian.
Yeah. But I think
it all depends. Like your scenario too. It all depends on whether or not I even believe you. Like if you just told me like, hey, like, you know, will you take this ice cream? But if I was given compelling evidence that there were actual puppies being tortured, I would not take the ice cream.
100%. Right. That's why I said, how is that any different than literally everything you do that could be doing that puppy thing? Like,
well, I'm only acting on the information that I have access to.
Exactly. Right.
I thought in your scenario you were telling me that like it was the case that there were puppies being tortured, and that's what I was addressing.
Well, see, that was the first question. The first question that was posed to me was, if there's a button and you press it and puppies pop into existence or like get birthed or whatever and then tortured, would you press the button? And I said, no, I think that's a terrible thing to do. I think anyone that did would be cruel. And then he said, oh, okay, what if I also gave you an ice cream cone, but there's also going to kill the puppy, so like now you have like a personal benefit? And then I said, yeah, I'm still going to call you cruel. I think you're an evil person. Don't press that fucking button. Then he said, okay, but there is no connection between the death of the puppies and all of reality. And at that point, I said, now you're just like telling me a story. Like, you're saying it has no correspondence to anything real, but it happens when I get the ice cream cone. To me, the only thing you're telling me is I get an ice cream cone and there's a scary story you want me to think of when I do it.
Yeah. That's kind of where my mind shifted to, but I'm tired right now, and I was just accepting that you were trying to infer like there was going to be, like, I knew that there was going to be some like puppies being tortured. I would not be able to live with myself, you know.
Yeah, and if I believed that, I wouldn't press the fucking button, regardless of the ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. It morphed into a question of, is that real if it's removed from all effects that could be had in reality? That it seems to me like that's breaking the concept of reality.
Yeah.
But that's why I wanted to pose the question to you, because I know you're pretty strict in your limitations of the scope of reality.
Oh, Justin
pretty strict on my scope. Pretty limited on my scope. What?
You're
I think that I'm precise. I'm trying to be as precise as possible about what I'm trying to convey, because I think that there's just too much ambiguous rhetoric on this app and this platform. Like, right. People just are all over the fucking place, right?
What I mean to say is that you're somewhat sensitive to people posing hybrid reality, like trying to broaden the notion, or
because we know,
like you're quick to point out that is not real, and I feel like that's a useful.
Wait, what is not real?
Something posed. This is some like a unicorn. You'll say like, well, what is such a thing?
Oh, I wouldn't say it's not real, because there's a difference between, like, if somebody it's not, and that's, so there's a little bit of a misconception. I'm fine with, like, concepts, right? Like, I can construct a concept in my mind, but then when somebody tells me that they've constructed a concept in their mind, and that they tell me that concept comports to reality, like, like God exists, that's where because I don't have a problem with the word God. I don't have a problem with the word exist, but you put those two words together, now I've got a problem, right?
Yeah, and a problem's got a problem.
Exactly. Because now I have to, like, pretend that you and I have a shared understanding of those words.
Right. I guess that's sort of what I mean. You are like
sorry, go ahead.
You're what I mean is you are skeptical and stand opposed to any charge someone has of something existing. Like you have standards for accepting the claim of existence.
Yeah. I think that there has to be, like, some sort of referential basis. Without that that qualifier, then I think that I'm stepping into a landmine. There's a problem there.
Yeah, and part of what I'm saying is the problem is it's literally trying to conceive of within your mind something that we're describing as non-existent. A thing that shouldn't, by definition, exist within your mind, right? You shouldn't be able to conceive that which is not conceivable.
No. I'm not saying that I can't create concepts in my mind. What I'm saying, though, is that, like, just because I can create a concept in my mind and you can create a concept in your mind, and we're using the same language, doesn't mean that we actually have shared conceptual understanding, right? And so if you've constructed a concept in your mind that you don't provide me the referential basis for, I can't say that I actually understand what you're actually talking about, right? Yeah, because just because two people use the same words and they're nodding their heads at each other doesn't actually mean their mental states are identical.
Wouldn't you say that's always the case with language?
I would say that we make inferences, and I think that the strongest inference that I can make is through some sort of referential basis. Like, there's, we're pattern-seeking creatures. We look for patterns in things, and then we identify what we think is being conveyed through those patterns, right? And one of the ways that I find that I think, well, not just me, but that I'm convinced that we all utilize is our referential basis. Like, it's the foundation for how we understand reality, which is why, like, when you go to kindergarten, they show you pictures of things like an apple or a pear, and then they utter the words out to you. You've attached the sound to an object in reality that you have a referential basis for. That's the foundation for how you build your reality. But then the problem is, like, we are creatures that also are able to conceptualize things and play Mr. Potato Head with things in our minds, right? And then we construct our own, unique concepts in our brains. And then we try to convey that, to other people. And sometimes we're successful. Sometimes there's enough referential, there's enough of a referential connection to reality that we can convey it meaningfully, where we're convinced that the other person understands us, but there's a lot of it that I think we don't, especially with this religious language. A lot of it is just very flowery, wordy stuff. But then when we ask them to define what they mean by a lot of the words that they're using, it just keeps getting more and more down the rabbit hole. It never seems to terminate into something that is like meaty or meaningful to me, right?
Does your objection stand for like poetry and literature?
No, because I think that poetry and literature are entirely subjective. Like, if two people can read the same thing and come away with it with two completely different values.
Right, but that seems in opposition to your point, right? Like, that's the problem.
No, that is my point. Is that the further removed something is from my ability to investigate it, the less than I could say that I share an identical understanding of that to other people, right?
Right, but in the case of literature and poetry, you saw that as a virtue, that it was by design meant to have multiple meanings.
Well, I'm not saying that it was necessarily by design. I think it just happened to be the case, and that people saw that, like, when they wrote something, like, somebody else got some value from it that they didn't intend, and they just utilized that, right? Like, musicians do it all the time. I mean, we're just going to attest to that.
Meaning, like, you'd say, like, the artist, he's making something, maybe a song that he wants to hear, but the reaction from everyone else, the sort of, like, abyss they're staring into and becoming fixated on, that's not what he produced. That's what the listeners hear.
Yeah, that's they like the old saying. I'm getting tired right now, so I can't even coherently string words together very, very well right now, but you hear what you want to hear, right?
Right. So then, would you say that there is any kind of through line of the connection of, like, all the people that are hearing a song that they like? Or do you see it like...
Well, I see the similarity that I see, the similarity that I see is they both value it. They both agree that it's something that they value, right? When two people come together and they hear a song and they value it, that's what I think that they have that's similar, but what they actually value from that may not be the same thing. Even if they're using the same words, they may have two different mental states, but they're using the same language.
But I'm confused because it feels like the same frustration of, if you wanted to understand it properly, you would have to stop and define the terms and see exactly what was conveyed, and then that would be the meaning that was now properly conveyed to you.
Well, see, that's the problem with the words, because any definition, you're going to also use words themselves that either have a referential basis or they don't, right? Which is why I was explaining earlier how, like, it seems like when we're talking about, like, God or whatever, every time I ask them to define a word, they always tend to keep using more esoteric, ambiguous, non-informative language, and it never ends. It's not like it terminates in something that to me is meaningful or referential, right?
Yeah, I'm just not seeing why the music is different.
Well, no, the music's not different. Like, so what is... There's a reference. When
I say there's a reference. Your reaction to the music is different.
Yeah, so there's a referential understanding, right, where somebody tells me that they value something, and I can again, we're pattern-seeking creatures, and so if somebody continues to listen to the same music over and over again, and they do things like bobbing their head, and they're smiling, and they're singing to the lyrics, that's all referential information to me that they're enjoying that song. But how they're enjoying it, their actual experience of enjoying it, I don't have access to that.
Like, what I like to do is I like to be naked on the floor in a fetal position, and I hold my penis, and I rock back and forth, kind of arrhythmically.
Only when you're listening to music?
Only when I'm listening to, like, I don't know. I was trying to think of the weirdest thing I could think of, and I can't think of anything.
Ballads?
Right. Norteño.
Right? I think that is the proper position for a ballad. No, what I mean is, okay, well, let me try sort of a different tack, because I was thinking of a question before Roy was jumped in. If you were nodding your head along, while the other guy was nodding his head along, and like a smile popped in your face, similar time smile popped in his face, are you thinking that you guys are attaching to a similar meaning? That you're smiling and nodding for similar reasons? Or you would like stop there and ask him, why are you smiling and nodding?
Well, I would infer that we
game
both
continues,
have a
Dr.
value,
Benji.
that we both have a shared value.
You want to come up here and play your music?
We value this thing, but how we value it, I can't infer exactly how they, because I don't have access to their mental states. Right? That's what I'm trying to convey to you. I don't have access to your mind. And so whatever mental projection you have of whatever experience that you're having, I don't have access to that.
Sure, no one's saying that you do, and I'm not saying that you know any person's mind fully, right? We can concede that you'll never know fully. But the question of like meaning and whether or not it's conveyed, it seems to me that from your perspective, you should be like a bit accommodating if you're acting in a similar way to the other person that's experiencing the same art.
Well, no, I can just infer that we both have a value, right? But I don't know what their actual value is. Like, how? I don't think you actually understand my position here.
That's possible.
Before you go to bed, what do you think of the new Christopher song release?
Oh shit! I haven't even listened to. Honestly, I haven't been paying attention.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Atheists Getting Angry. Why?
Your frontal cortex won't try to analyze it too much,
Yeah, I have Tidal, and I think that he releases all the shit on Tidal now, so that's good. There was a long point of time where he wasn't, or Maynard refused to upload any of his music to a lot of the different streaming platforms, but he finally succumbed.
Yeah, I remember he was backing up
He's making a lot of money now.
He was kind of backing up Metallica with the Napster thing. He was like, yeah, it's like the big band is doing this, and it's kind of sticking up for us little guys too. It's funny to consider Tool like a little guy, but
I am allowed to speak now. Fellow
Metallica, yeah.
Welcome to Atheists Getting Angry, where we have Dr. Shawnito and Roylos debating the world-famous Dr. Mized.
Do you have any other questions for me? I'm going to head to bed here soon, so if you have any further questions, I'll...
Mized.
Maybe contemplate what I'm saying, and if you think of something compelling or something, write it down, and then just ask me next time you see me.
No, it was mostly the question of the puppy room, and seeing how that stretched with your sense of reality.
Yeah. Like I said, it all depends on if I'm compelled to believe that what they're telling me is actually the case. But,
right.
And if they do compel me, then I would not take the ice.
Yeah, no one would do that if it's really happening unless they were cruel, like I said.
All right, guys, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I'll see you tomorrow, maybe.
Good night, Hammersmith. See ya. I gotta get to work, so you want to close the room down or keep it open?
No, you can trash it.
All right, screw you guys.
Wow, and look who joined. Right after it's over, Mized.
Is Mized in the room?
Yeah, right after
Except we were live streaming and listening in to you talking to Shawnito, and I like recording atheists getting angry. I think it's it's delightful, because Mixed, I wanted to ask you a question. If you were to talk to an atheist and give them just like 3 bullet points of a compression of all your knowledge, what would you give them as something, practical, pragmatic, something that they could utilize to improve their lives if they were angry atheists?
It's going to be for each particular person. There's not like a catch-all answer. Like the simple instruction, like any catch-all advice. What, like study what the God believers are really talking about? I mean, they already do that. And they do have a strong obsession with seeking out truth and rejecting falsehood, which is a good trait. I mean, like, in terms of, like, angry atheists, like, it seems like socially maladjusted. In terms of, like, advice, what, act more like a person? It's not very good advice.
I mean, I would, basically say that, going back to silence and listening, being one of the more important takeaways from a theological religious education. That would be like one bullet point that I would give somebody. I mean, I can come up with 2 others, but I'm talking about those kinds of compressions from studying, Torah.
I mean, my general answer would always be to study the Torah. Like, it's a great book. It will give you great insight into understanding human nature. But, like, to an atheist, like, they've got other issues before finding the Torah.
It's not just atheists. It's anybody who's looking for a cheat sheet or cliff notes on.
Yeah, I tell anyone to go use it. Like, it's been translated into all the languages. It's the most popular book. It's really not that hard to figure out. It's secret to success.
I know, but what I'm saying is when you talk to Roivas or Shawnito or other atheists like Steve Appel, anger is one of, through religious study, essentially you neutralize anger with wisdom and understanding. I mean, you have the kalkma, you have the crown of divine light, so to speak. So I'm just saying that if the question is just like, what would your compression be to give an atheist a cliff sheet, to help them on their way?
Well, in terms of like anger and like the rage, there is a piece of advice from Maimonides about that. He generally encourages people to choose the middle path, like sort of a balanced emotional position, not too extreme, which he's ripping off from Aristotle. But with rage, he says something specific. He says, like, anger should not be accessed. He says you should not make any use of that. He considers it like an addictive desire, that it will only compound. And I do see, like, in like irreligious areas, and not true of all religions, but I do see that people enjoy leaning into rage. And I'd say that's a hazard.
Yeah. So listening, anger, I mean, then I guess the last one in my 3 bullet point would be breathing as a divine attribute, ruach, I guess, meaning that if you stop breathing, you die. Therefore, breath is almost like a virtue. But what I'm saying is, controlling your emotions through breathing, that middle pillar path, meaning that if you're aware of do you know what the Gmail response is, where, if you film somebody sitting down and looking at their email, 80-90% of people stop breathing immediately. It's almost 100%, but meaning that when you have a focused attention and your force is directed towards something which is requiring all this neural processing, you actually stop breathing. But if you're aware that you stop breathing, it's like having a higher level of intelligence, meaning it's better to breathe. So I'm just saying that people who are in the road rage mindset actually stop breathing because their force becomes, directed to counter your position or words. So I don't know. Anyways, the point is, I just love these religious debates and hearing people crash out and get extremely upset over somebody's, opinion or interpretation or, their spiel. It's just, to me, it's a category of content.
Yeah, I agree. I find it comic. Like it in the background.
Yeah, I like intelligent conversation. And, you're one of the, I would say, best intelligent conversationalists on this app. I mean, other people, anyways, I'm just saying there's a lot of really smart, funny people here, but, everything is an index. And, man, I don't know how much exploration you do on this app, but I mean, I go into rooms and I just add everybody, and it's an interesting milieu and collection of people from America throughout the world. I mean, there's a lot of people that are really interested in religion or spirituality. But damn, I mean, nobody's working with books, which blows my mind. Most people are just not working with books, and I'm just like, where do you think this app is like a book? I mean, if you look at compression, it's like, damn, I mean, they're really missing an opportunity.
Books are getting harder and harder to get into people's heads.
I asked a question in a room earlier that if you were an atheist or an agnostic, like a vehement anti-God, anti-religious person, but you had the option to accept an upload of hundreds of gigabytes and total comprehension, would you do it? Which is essentially asking somebody if they would like a larger vocabulary or larger LLM with full understanding and integration. Would you do it? And I wonder how many atheists would actually say there's no side effects other than greater intelligence. I mean, the thing is, I'm just curious how they want to answer that question, because it says a lot about the person.
Whether or not they take the pill to be smarter?
Correct. But see, some people will
take a pill to be smarter.
Most people would, but some of these people will sit there and argue and say, even if I was able to upload all these books and have total comprehension, it wouldn't make me smarter. That's what they would argue back to that question, I think.
Okay, I get that. I think that you're critiquing a kind of deconstructivist position. That part of the liberal and enlightened movement was clarifying basic concepts and getting them sort of refined, defendable, and true. And with that became, a compartmentalized version of truth, right? The tightest, truest stuff we've got. And then after that, they didn't give a shit about all the ideas that were had before that. Right? You can throw that all away, which is kind of the goal. The goal is to get our wisdom to tweet length so that we can quickly instruct each new generation of humans. But when you also get your information condensed down into its most foundational bits and tell people this is sufficient, they stop being curious. They already know the answers. The sense you're talking about, it wouldn't help me if you added all that information into me. They're saying they already have the operating system, the basic coding to understand the world properly, and all you're throwing is extra stuff at them, extra ideas, extra facts, when they've already got their core. So it'd be cute to know, but they would say that wouldn't affect any of their conclusions or their overall intelligence because they're applying the code that they got from the liberals.
Yeah. I mean, what do you make of the statement that the more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you get, or stop thinking, end your problems? And this is like Zen philosophy, meaning that you don't add to it, you take away from it. And so all of these words really are causing a lot of problems for people. But if you were to do the compression and the refinement, I'm just saying that I don't think that, I don't even know if any of these atheists on this app would be smart enough, meaning to answer that question in the sense that they are trying to one up you in a way by saying there's still no God. Even if I had all of that information and comprehension, it still doesn't prove there's a God. I don't know how they would answer. I'm just curious to see how like some people on this app could answer or would answer that question.
Well, I mean, I think that there should be a degree of embarrassment with someone taking like the products of the Enlightenment, compressing that into a notion of the world, and then evaluating while disregarding all of the history that constructed the Enlightenment. I think it's naive, and I think it would naturally be embarrassing. Like, if you were an atheist and to then know all of the history of human thought that produced your very comfortable atheistic view, you would see endless hypocrisies in everything you're doing. The only thing that like allows them comfortably to do it is that we called off a line. We said enlightenment, and then we disregard everything before. But like, it's still built on top of the past. You can't just forget it because you feel you've got a good tool and you don't need the insights that got there. No, you're just going to lose the foundational insights if you do that. And then make new kinds of problems, right? Post-Enlightenment, you get industrialized genocide. Because why not? Can you make an argument I shouldn't?
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you read things from the early 1900s, it's so amazing, so intelligent. And then you go into World War I, World War II, and I don't know. I mean, look at Vietnam and how Americans responded to that war. There was no longer acquiescence and passivity. And you had El Normo, protesting at Woodstock or something. I mean, there was like a higher state of awareness in the herd with regards to military interventions globally and war. And so anyways, I mean, but then you have 9/11 and it's complete and total patriotism without any real reflection on even how to best handle the problem militarily, as meaning that like don't overdo it in the response. I don't know. I think just the herd is so easily manipulated through media that
I think it shifted into a new age, and Vietnam was kind of the marker. At this point, media has become more democratized, and propaganda is in everyone's hands. Whereas before, America could massage and tailor the national perspective. They could control which papers were published, and they had some degree of direction. But in the modern publication technology, with a free speech zone, you're really just opening Pandora's box, right? And that was Vietnam, right? They couldn't control the narrative. The images that were coming out, the reporting that was being done, it didn't help them, not in the way it had in the past. And I think, in general, warfare has become far more difficult because of the opening up of the channels of propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, everything has changed because of the cell phone. Because when you put a cell phone in somebody's face, and if they're saying something nasty, I mean, you got them. So, if you go up to a cop and he is being verbally abusive and racist or bigoted or mean or whatever, I mean, gotcha. So it's the same thing in war. I mean, if you can film people committing atrocities, I mean, I think we're living in a good age with regards to the advent of these recording devices.
Yeah.
So
It might stop war.
yeah, I think it should technically,
Like,
but maybe
we're
not.
getting very, very close to like the perfect panopticon where good behavior is prompted from the tacit awareness of everyone that they are being watched.
There's this quote I have. It's let me see. It says, when a critical mass is achieved within a species, the behavior is instantaneously transferred to and exhibited by all members of the species. So the question, I guess, is what is a critical mass, or when a critical mass? So, like, I mean, critical mass would just be a herd consensus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, but the critical mass is essentially a majority of the mind's eye. So that means that the propaganda permeated to a majority of the species. I mean, and the species, I think, is really just a network. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why I think Chabad is, pretty important in terms of like the Jewish network. It helped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I need them for kosher food everywhere.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like things that Chabad brings to the Jewish community that's just like invisible to the non-Jews because they just don't know the struggle of keeping kosher in, I don't know, Uganda.
How do you keep kosher in Uganda? I mean, don't you just...
Yeah, what would you do? What would you do if you just like were visiting? If there was like a conference and you had to be somewhere, you know what you do? You'd eat a bunch of fruit and vegetables and water and like nothing. And it would be annoying. But with Chabad, you can get meat, you can get cheese, you can get a place to pray.
Yeah. It's amazing because it's like totally decentralized.
Yeah.
Everybody's...
That's why I say, like, I'm not a fan of like the philosophy of Chabad or Lubavitch or Hasidus, but the Rebbe clearly understood America much better than the other Jews that were taking root here. Like, there were a bunch of different communities. They modeled their own thing. They were comfortable, successful. They understood how to work in America. That guy understood media, capitalism, franchise, America. He got it. And, like, anyone that doesn't see that, just, they're not respecting his genius.
Yeah. Very successful, very successful in what he did. But really, it's his communication strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
Propaganda, media.
Mm-hmm.
And that's partly what, like, made America exist and be powerful. It's a natural propaganda engine.
Mm-hmm.
One, it has like all of the miscreants from the old world. Two, it severs ties with them. Three, the only other people that speak English are across the ocean. So they're just naturally more text-based, and then they immediately have to figure out how to do Morse code and communicate. And then the internet and the cables and the television, they just like, the progression of America was clearly modeled around its need to communicate with the rest of the English speakers. And that created a propaganda center, somewhat organically and capitalistically.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I'm reading books, I'm just like, wow, thank God English is my first language, because you come on this app and you realize how many foreign speakers there are, and even native English speakers who are terrible at public speaking or conversation. But I'm just like, wow, I'm like, it is a great blessing to be based in English, because everybody seems to focus, on English. I mean, it's a great blessing to be a native English speaker. It can't be underrated, really, in terms of success.
And of course, why should the majority of the world gain proficiency in English? Why? Because the center of all propaganda is America.
Yeah.
Everyone's always blaming the Jews. No one's paying attention to the fucking newspaper people, right? There's an old there's an old saying, I forget who, one of the yellow journalists, he said, never never pick a fight with a man who buys ink by the barrel. Just think about it. Like, we're in the internet age. It's like, oh, tweet, it gets washed away. These were people that had networks publishing text that they controlled. It was a tremendous ability. And, like, it was a crisis a bit, like when a paper took sides against the positions of the state.
Yeah, look at the Mormons. I mean, they literally went to war with the newspapers, burned them out of their offices, and then went to war with the government. The government had to send in troops to cut them down.
It was a rowdy place.
Yeah.
What year was Mormonism?
I could Google it, but it's pretty old.
1700s?
No, it's like late 1800s. I don't know.
Late 1800s, so like post Civil War.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Salt Lake City? Have you ever been to Salt Lake City?
No. But every time someone says Salt Lake City, I'm reminded of the line in Book of Mormon when the devout converts to Mormonism are putting on like a play to illustrate the love of the religion, and the Mormon missionary has like failed. He lied to them a bunch because he couldn't get them interested in the Mormon story. So he just like told a bit of a story and then told them not to do the bad stuff that they were doing. And like, since he was promising them salvation, they were like, yeah, okay, we'll like stop doing these bad things. But at the end, like, a girl figures out that he was lying, that it isn't the true doctrine of Mormonism, that these are just fakes. And she like declares that to the town, like in the middle of this big dance. And her mother comes over and says, silly, Salt Lake City is not a real place. It's a metaphor.
Yeah, I don't know how people, when you read about Joseph Smith, that was all in like the 1839. I'm reading about it.
1839, that's a ripe era.
Right? They were, his brother's name was Hiram, Joseph Smith. They were killed in 1844. Yeah.
They missed the Civil.
I don't know, when you read about Joseph Smith and how he found the golden tablets and like what they say, it's like, I don't know, you know, there's a sucker born every minute, but it's just so outlandish and you know, it's like revival, I guess, right? I mean, in 1840, you were probably pretty bored, so you're like, well, let's just do the whole game over again, you know?
Well, you gotta remember that America was like a lawless place, and there were a bunch of religious ideologues trying their different cults, which America sort of firmly allowed to happen. There were some cults that were very clearly just going to destroy themselves. And America's like, you're not hurting anyone. If you destroy yourselves, that is your choice. And like Joseph Smith, the Mormons, you can say there's a second born every minute. I think it's more like America just really likes to let these cultures and communities grow larger than the old world was comfortable with. And sometimes there are success stories.
Yeah, Mormonism is a big success story. I mean, they have $1 trillion in assets under management. They built a city. Everything in the city is owned by the Mormon Church. I mean, it's its own, you know, massive enterprise.
You got to appreciate the machine. The coolest cult that tried to get started in America that I saw was, I think it was the Ghost Tribe. So Native Americans were like starting to unite under a charismatic leader who was like a chieftain of the tribe. And he said that he had been visited in a dream by Jesus, right? And that Jesus was instructing him on how to interact with the American colonists. The colonists stamped that shit out fast and hard.
Oh, yeah, bro. but you were supposed to inhale the smoke. But they were pregnant, so they said, this is what they said, they call it the peace pipe. And so this smoke would go up and stuff like that, and then they said they believe God would hear their prayers through the smoke, the incense. And so the colonists, they misunderstood it and started inhaling it. It's crazy. I just watched a video on that of a Native American guy just talking about that.
Think about like the perspective of the early settlers, or like basically if you were like an entrepreneur or a merchant, you know, and you could get in new food products, like that would be like the big startup and discovery, meaning it's like, whoa, we got a new vegetable we can sell in Europe, we've got a new, you know, fruit we can mass produce and create whole new markets for that. Like, to me, that's kind of an interesting part of history, is I guess the history of food and you know, the capitalization of food distribution throughout the world historically. I mean, that had to have been one of the major goals of funding all international exploration, is to build, you know, the variety of your food supply for sale.
I would say for Europe, yeah, definitely. Like, I know that it was a luxury to have watermelon or something like that in Europe, because normally it wouldn't grow in such lands and stuff like that. So, like, you know, yeah, I mean, obviously that'd be like new to some of them in the Atlantic area or whatever. Yeah. And then I had a question to you guys, like, well, so I have some family members who are like basically white or whatever, my in-laws, and I'm like, so do you know why a lot of white people are allergic to nuts and gluten and what is it, nuts, gluten, yeah, and dairy, whatever. Like, not just dairy, but just all those other things. Because I be hearing people say that, I'd be like, what is that? I hear some black people are allergic, you know, to like, what do you call it, the lactose, whatever. But
well, I hear crazy black geneticists on this app talking about digestion and metabolism, and how white people can't do this, but the black people that have this genetic marker, they can metabolize. It's like, I don't even know why you're asking the question, but why are you asking the question?
Yeah, I wonder what is it in this land? Is it something in the land that actually that they can't eat or something? Or because I keep hearing this from my nephews and nieces, like they can't eat peanuts or something, like stuff like that or whatever.
They can't eat peanut.
Yeah, I don't know what's the, like, where they come from, but I know you got, like what you said, comedy.
Because George Washington Carver designed peanuts to kill white people secretly.
Oh, no. No way. I just didn't understand it. It's weird.
I don't know. I think a lot of people are brainwashed, or they have like self-hypnotized themselves to think they can't eat certain foods, and they have reactions to certain foods, but it's really just like underlying stress and anxiety, which is preventing them from eating certain foods. But then always
give them peanuts.
Yeah, it's like mind over matter. But anyways, you know, some people have allergic reactions or whatever. But this is like a whole bullshit science about food allergies, and they do these massive food allergy tests on you and like pierce your fucking spinal column with all this bullshit. I think all that shit's bullshit. I think a lot of that is just psychological. But I could be wrong.
Me too, bro. I be telling people that too. My little brother, my little brother, he used to always say, I hate ketchup. And I'm like, bro, I feel like you're just being rebellious, like just to be unique. Yeah. That's what I think. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm telling the truth like that. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, but McZed here, he keeps kosher. So, I mean, to me, who doesn't keep kosher, like, I'd have to really go out of my way, maybe, I don't know, to experience what it's like to eat kosher. But even then, it's like, if kosher is easily accessible, like if you go to Israel and everything is kosher, I mean, it's almost like not having to deal with kosher, you know, requirements. It's like, because everything is kosher. So, yeah.
Why are Jews white today?
I don't know. Let me ask my dead grandmother and dead grandfather who were white and Jewish from Ukraine. Let me ring them up on the phone real quick. Ring, ring, ring. Grandmother, why are Jews white today? What do you think my grandmother would say right now?
I don't know. She'd say that you can be considered white because it's currently fashionable to hate the whites.
It's kosher. Maybe that's what she'll say. Kosher. Kosher.
I mean,
honest question. Why are Jews white today?
I got.
It's simple, actually. I know why. So there's Ashkenazi, there's Russian, different types, and there's so if you look in the Bible, you see what Acts.
Greetings of peace. Thank you for the invitation.
Hold on, right. Let me say topic. I want to say very quick, and it's not going to be long because I got to get in the house with my wife. But I want to say this. So in the book of Acts, you see that there was many Jews all over under the heavens. That's what it said. Some from Arabia, some from the north, some from the south, some from the east. And so what happened today is that a lot of these people, like what we know is all that we know. And so in America, in the Western places, all we know is Germanic and all these type of places because we don't look at the whole picture. And so now, whenever the West had power to put them in the land, they were racially, they always think about white first, because they made that stuff up, that white stuff up. And so like they placed the people that they saw fit to be in their land, that they wanted to be in there. So they're kind of affiliated. So these white brothers and sisters who are Jewish, they are either family or either by belief they tie themselves to Judaism, so they call themselves Jewish. Some of them are not by blood, some of them are, and so that's why you see them, and they don't represent all of the Jewish people as the Bible says. They only.
But you do realize defining someone. Rahi, hold on a second, Rahi. I mean, don't you think calling somebody a white man or a black man is actually really stupid? I mean, aren't we just humans?
Is Noam Chomsky black, according to this definition?
I agree.
It's made up.
I mean, if the new government and the new revolution is based on. Rahi, hold on. If it's all based on meritocracy now and there's no more DEI, isn't it just easy to identify racial identity politicians and their hypnosis, which is really low IQ?
Everybody.
Yeah, it's something that they made up. Yeah, they made this stuff up, and we're going by.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. So, yes, racism doesn't exist anymore. But
Doge and dog, they don't. The spellings are pretty similar, right? Doge and dog, D-O-G-E, D-O. I mean, anyway, just throwing out some comedy terms out here. Peace, comedy, Republican, and everybody else. Salam and shalom.
What race is you, right? What are you?
I'm a Milky Way race, bro. Whatever encompasses Milky race. Pardon me?
The earth is full of mixed people, black people, and white people.
Whatever, dude. It's very diverse. It's very diverse. It depends on how specific you want to get.
The Middle East is full of mixed people, basically. In places that have light skin color are mixed people. That's all it is. It's all a different array of people. Come from dark and light skin people.
Well, the origin is from dark complexion color, though.
Yes, the black woman can produce every type of genetic, modification, whatever type of stuff is happening, or whatever the variants and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just white people came from I wouldn't say black, but darker skin complexion people.
I mean,
we all the same.
That's got to be a theory. That can't be. I don't know how anybody could prove that.
I mean, what you mean? Scientists already proved it.
John, they already proved it. So scientifically, you hear that from in all type of rooms. They talk about stuff, but not just that. I actually ran into a guy who was blonde headed. Now this is crazy. He was rapping and he said the N-word on Facebook. And I'm a rapper too. You know what I'm saying? I just I like his music. He was dope. I wouldn't say they sound like black people, but this is what happened. I said, yo, you probably shouldn't be saying the N-word. I'm like, I like your song. You go hard.
What did he say? Nostradamus?
Yeah, this is crazy, bro. Yeah, I do music. Yeah, comedy. This is what he did. Everybody somebody blew me up in my inbox. They say, "Yo, his dad is black, and his dad is blacker than my dad, and but he's white as a mug." So I'm like, "Yo, what the hell is going on here?" I'm like, I literally can't even depend on the skin color to tell what you are now anymore. So just like what John said, if we do come from black, this is what the scientists say, and so like that. It just, you know.
I know, but what I'm saying is it's a theory that there's no such thing as white or black people, and thus nobody came from some other people. There's just always been this index of humans, and so it's racial identity politics to suggest otherwise, and thus it's low IQ and stupid. There's one human race, and there's an index. Well, I'm saying it's stupid because it's racial identity politics. It's your politic. It would be my politic if I was going on and on about white people.
You have a point. You have a point, but brother, the reason why they became white is because they migrated into a certain area and they changed colors. But in general, the source is from colored people. That's what I'm getting at. Like in general, the source is colored folks.
I get it, but what I'm saying is that could be wrong, and there's probably an index of a full index of colored people, and that's the truth. It's always been that way.
I mean, it can be wrong, but scientists says otherwise, though. Comedy, so right now they're just a claim that you're making.
I know, but since we don't have like a machine, I mean, I guess you could plug it into ChatGPT and we can see what the AI chat says or whatever the Google search says. But I'm just saying, to me, it's all communication hypnosis. I mean, what's more important, that white people came from black people or that we actually learned something about communication? To me, the utilitarian value of, understanding communication or the science behind it is more important than figuring out where the fuck white people came from. Thus, it's more politic than anything else. It's stupid. It's stupid talk because it's political. It doesn't even help with anything. It's a waste of time.
I agree with you, but we on Clubhouse discussing it, so.
I know. Well, then I'm just neutering it. But I mean, the reason why I created this room is because I see a lot of atheists getting angry on this app, but I also see a lot of theists getting angry on this app. So the point is, if you are a learned person, the byproduct of having comprehension and knowledge and wisdom is that you're no longer angry and you're no longer engaging in very emotional debates because it's a waste of energy and it's low IQ and stupid. So that's my observation.
No, I agree 100%. 100%. But it was just something to talk about because it is Clubhouse. But overall, I agree with you.
I know it's Clubhouse, but it's still you, meaning that we are our words and what we listen to is, maybe more important than what we say. So, Clown House is full of stupidity, but I try to at least, be productive here to a certain extent because really it's a meditation. So we want the after product to be significant.
I get you. That's how your room is ran for sure. I agree. 100%. Yeah, I don't know why atheists do get angry though. The only reason why they get angry because they're mad at God. If they're mad at God, that means you're acknowledging His existence. So atheists don't. I think it's delusional. Like men think.
I don't think they're mad at God per se. I think they're more angry at themselves for even being angry. Like they can't even. They don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. Meaning that if you're going to create a show and be the facilitator of a show, but still get super angry, what kind of a control of a show is that? Like the whole thing should be for your entertainment. You shouldn't get angry in your rhetoric and in your public speaking. It's total waste of energy. It's stupid. It's crazy talk. It's basically insane people. Crazy people.
I agree, but the source of that anger, I'm telling you, man, I talk to them all the time. You could hear it. They go straight to the Bible for their source. You ever realize that? They always go straight to a religion to prove their point. That alone proves that they're angry at God, brother. Because why are you going to a religious source to prove your point? Just think about it logically. Am I wrong?
I just think that it's not like a full thought out argument. But yeah, I get what you're saying. but it doesn't solidify that the God is real. You know, like if Allah, they argue against Allah, doesn't mean that God is Allah is real because they're arguing about a concept. You know what I mean? But I get what you're saying. You're like, how in the world is something not real taking this much space in your brain so it makes you feel like it's real or not? But I don't think that proves it, but it feels like it proves it. You know, I don't know.
What I'm saying is this: it's like when you refer back to a religious source, that means you're going off a source that you disagree with that made you atheist. Because every time they argue from an atheist point of view, they go to a religious source. Why are they going to their religious source? Because their religious source made them atheists. That's why they go to it, to prove their atheism. I think it's pretty logic. Do you get where I'm coming from?
I kind of understood that a little bit. Yeah, I see what you're saying. A little bit.
So, yeah, so it's just like, where else could you stand on atheism without going to a religious source? And they can't do it. They can't do it. Just because they disagree with what God does in the Bible or any religious text doesn't exit out that he doesn't exist. Like, I really do believe atheism is delusional. I think it's worse than LGBT.
It is. It's special pleads for one position. So let's deal with this. Two things. Of cause and effect. Okay. So they believe in cause and effect all the way until you get to the point where the universe is created. Then they want a special plead and say, "Oh, this is the only place that doesn't have the cause and effect. This is, because like the cause is synonymous or similar to creator. What created this? What caused this? Even though they're not exactly the same, they're very, very similar. And so we as theists, we believe that there's a creator and a causer to the effect. And they do too, until you get to the beginning of the universe. That's whenever they want a special plead. That's why it's delusional.
Now, Young, I'm cool with theists. I actually respect theists more than an atheist. It makes more sense to be a theist than an atheist. Like, atheism just don't make no sense at all. At least a theist is open-minded. Atheist just like, no, it don't exist, even though I don't know. How are you going to disagree with something that don't have an answer?
Right.
Let's make that make sense.
That's what I'm saying. It's possibly even something that to say it is completely nothing. Yeah, especially where the knowledge is limited.
And me being a Christian, brother, I can't say this is an absolute truth. I can't say that. Like, logically, I just cannot say that. Because to say that this is 100% proven, it means that I could prove something I could prove that it's not otherwise. You see where I'm coming from? Like, I have to show you the other option and prove that to say that this is 100% could be proven. Like, I can't 100% prove that the Bible is the Word of God, but I have evidence to show you that this is the Word of God. Like, the evidence convinces me. The evidence of creation convinces me that there's a God. So that's what you have to go off of. You can't 100% prove anything, honestly. When you go to a pharmacy and you try to get some medicine, you having faith. You actually having faith that this person giving you the right prescription when you go to this pharmacy and get this medicine. Like, you would never know 100% what's going on. No. When you drink your drink, you don't know what somebody put that in there. It's just so much, brother. I don't know. I think it's just retarded.
I think also, like, a lot of people who challenge Christianity or whatever, or just, I guess maybe, our theism, they go wrong whenever they use the Old Testament most of the time. Because this is what I do whenever they go back to the Old Testament. I'll say, Jeremiah 31 to 34, he says, I will create a covenant with the house of Israel. It won't be like the one I made with their forefathers in the desert. Meaning, if he makes a new covenant, which that's what we're in, that means if you're quoting stuff out of the Old Testament to try to condemn the New Testament dwellers, then that would mean you're already out of context. And so your game is already over right there because you're giving it to the wrong book. Yeah.
Actually, you're 100%, bro. Actually, I agree with you. Yeah. In fact, it's common sense. It's called a new covenant.
ask you to. Nah, damn.
I've been in here drinking microwave water, y'all.
Girl, like, let me ask you. You know how you when you go to a doctor and there's a time. You know how when you go to a doctor. Do you know how when you go to a doctor? Do you know how when you go to a doctor? Do you know how when you go to a doctor? Yeah, well, is there a disease made in laboratories? You know what I mean? Is that still divine justice? It's pretty fascinating. Three enemies anyway. But yeah, I think Elon Musk is definitely suffering from racism, and I think that's very sad.
A historical document is to look at, firstly, what is the genre of the literature? Is it legalistic? Is it exhorting people to a particular moral or virtuous endeavor? Is it recording, or is it recalling, recent events?
It is better. It's the better way. I think it's the better way of doing it for sure. Like it's just gross and lazy, and I don't know. There's something lethargic about doing dishes, anyways. But
What, you gonna counter or something like what?
Bro, your name looks like you slept with your mother when you grew up.
I ain't even gonna lie. You gay as hell as a name.
Bro, Coco, I just read your comment and I ain't gonna lie, it had me dead.
I'm definitely racist. I don't like
Trouble was in here.
Relax.
You don't like white people. You a racist.
You be racist against black people when you fucking met a man like me.
Doc, you drunk.
Jumping like it's hot. Jumping like it's hot. Jumping like it's hot. Jumping like it's hot.
Nah, go outside and shoot your gun.
Go shoot yourself in the foot.
Why do I gotta go outside and shoot my gun?
Oh, shoot in the house.
Blow that shit right now, then I bet you won't.
You bet I won't shoot a gun.
Do it, dog. Point it towards your head.
I bet you won't blow that motherfucker. I'm coming in the house.
Oh my God.
So you don't want to play dominoes?
We can. Come on.
I wish the motherfucker would. I have a gun range in my yard and my house.
He's got a gun range in his kitchen.
Already done did it, because your pussy bitch is deaf. I don't have to fucking satisfy your trick ass bitch mentality.
Alabama, once they take your fingerprints,
They got high point ARP, man. What you talking about?
I'm not talking about no fucking Apple.
I'm sitting in.
Yo, out here, the only thing you get out of a fucking pawn shop out here is fucking car parts, nigga. You ain't getting no fucking gun out of no fucking pawn shop out here.
That's why I love.
Man, you ain't getting no fucking gun out here, nigga. All you gonna get is fucking goddamn generator.
She had kids early on, and my sister's a Gen X as well. But I don't know. For me, I think I really work on trying to make my kids figure it out, because they'll be like, Dad, what do I do? I'm like, you gotta use your brain. You gotta use the stuff that's between your ears.
I'm gonna be honest, man. If I was in those conferences, I'll be doing tequila. Don't worry.
Oh,
okay, I want tequila. And then
Tom, give me. Can you do that? Korean. Tom, what the fuck, Tom? Can you give Kim Jong Un about it?
That's a cute cat.
Hey, Tom, did you hear that?
All I heard is you say, Tom. I didn't hear what you said.
Hey, can you tell me what you would have did, Jim Woon?
I don't even care. I don't care what nigga
If you're not willing to do patriarchy, bro, do not get a wife. That's all I'm saying.
No, you don't. You gotta do tequila sometimes.
Okay, we get it. You don't like girls. Why do you have to keep saying
You gotta do tequila sometimes.
I gotta listen to this shit. We have to teach young black
No,
kids
like Congo.
patriarchy.
I mean, like I'm thinking a rapper. Yes, it's a Boosie rapper. Yeah.
Talking about what he did to his sons?
Yeah, he got a.
Oh, y'all niggas nasty.
Oh, that's
no,
terrible.
I'm saying a Congo is over.
He
Fire, just go on mute. That was nasty.
You knew what that was.
Hey, come on, man.
I really
That
Bro, hey. Well, they got some shit I ain't never heard of, though. They got some fire shit.
shit's lit. I ain't gonna lie. That shit's lit. Hey, Rossi! The fuck? What you mean? No. Hey, what's your fuck? Oh, apa? Hey, malam satunya. Hey. Sana. Oh, dapat. Woo. Hey. Ah. Hey, Rossi!
Damn, there's no way that shit was good.
How do you know when it's time to end a relationship or when to really fight for it to see if there's something there?
I don't think there's a right.